tilted.
All right, question for Coach.
Offense out there doing up downs. What'd you guys do to them today?
Nothing. They're just doing what they always do after practice. That's how they condition.
Brad, Ole Miss's running game, Kiffin usually airs it out. It's really heavy on the run with a lot of success this year. What kind of challenge does that present?
Yeah, I mean, just first off, I mean, obviously the tempo aspect, alone stresses the defense. But the emphasis on the run game, but don't get it twisted. They can push the ball down the field as much as they need to. So they've just been really successful on the ground. And from a defensive perspective, when a team can really run the football as well as they can run it, it can be, deflating. So you gotta do the best you can to try to minimize that. And when it's time and they take their shots on you, we've got to do a good job of trying to defend those.
Brad, this is like the first heavy tempo team I think y'all played since Tennessee last year. Is that being brought up at all, like the slow start last year, or any lessons to try to learn from that for this game?
Anytime you have you face an offense of a similar style, you try to draw from the lessons, previous. But if you start dwelling on certain things, then you're living in the past. All we do is we preach to our guys about, living in the moment and today. And hey, listen, if you don't talk about, things that you did wrong in the past, you're bound to repeat them. But at the same time, we're not just going to sit there and dwell on them. So it's a new team, it's a new year. It's just we're facing a different team. The way they operate's different than the way Tennessee operates. So,
You said last week that even after the shutout, there was plenty of stuff for you guys to work on. Did that Northern Illinois game kind of pound that message home to guys that some of those areas you all want to still see improvement?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, whether it pounded it home, maybe. I think our guys were well aware of the challenge that we've had to face last week against a physical football team, and that's the beauty of it. It's funny. I think Micah Parsons might have just tweeted it out today, and he said, something about there's 17 days in a year for him to show all the work that he puts in throughout the year, and that's what makes football such a unique game. And it's it's the same in college football. You got 12 given opportunities to show out, but every single week it's different, and you're gonna have if you're lucky, you can have the same lineup on the field every single week, but more often than not, you're going to have different people out there, and that's part of it. You have to work through some attrition at times. You've got to work through different schemes. You've got to work through different matchups. Every offense you face doesn't match up with you defensively the exact same way. You've got to weather the storm throughout a season at times, and we knew there were going to be ups and downs. I don't think any one of our guys necessarily got too big-headed. We were not clean. We did not execute well enough. And when you don't, it doesn't matter what offense you face. In this day and age in college football, you're going to get exposed. And so we've got to get those things cleaned up. Execute better, communicate better, and play better this Saturday.
Brad, we saw a few slower starts from the defense in that Miami of Ohio game and just a little bit in Northern Illinois. How important is it with the tempo that Ole Miss plays with to come out hot and heavy early?
Yeah, I think every game you want to come out early or come out hot, and obviously if you don't come out ready to play, they can score in a hurry. You've seen it in most of the games they played, that tempo will jump on you. I think in the Georgia Tech game, they were in the end zone after kickoff. It was like 13:36 still left on the clock. 4 plays in, and they're down there, and it's a touchdown. So you have to do a great job. You've got to be ready to go. You've got to play smart and disciplined throughout the entire game, not just early. Because I think that's, we sort of came out, slow against Northern Illinois. We didn't tackle great on that first drive. I thought we settled in, and then and they lost focus a little bit. They had a couple of big plays, and that's football. Like you can't. It doesn't matter. Drive 1, drive 2. You could have 5 great drives to start. You could come out, hot as a skillet, and then if you don't stay focused throughout the whole game, nobody's talking about how well you started. They're going to talk about how poor you finished. So if it's a 12, a 13 drive game, we better play good for 13 drives.
How is Alex Farley adjusting to his role in defense?
He's getting it. Every week, it's a little bit better. Things make a little bit more sense. Every week, the more reps you play, the more mistakes that you can correct. The nice thing is he does a nice job of not tending to make the same mistake over and over. We call it repeat offender. He's not that. But every offense right now is different. I mean, you think about the styles of offense that we've had to face, and they've been different, and this one's going to be a new challenge and things that he hasn't seen, and so he's going to have to grow through this one as well. But to be a true freshman, to do what we've asked him to do, I think he's been doing a nice job of it.
When you watch it on tape, what does Dart, the quarterback, what kind of challenges does he bring to the field?
Yeah, I think he's a real I don't know if he gets enough credit for how athletic he is. I think you really saw it last week against Tulsa and some of that Q run stuff, how quickly, like on play 1, how quickly it was a first down. I mean, it was one snap, Q read, and boom, he's got 12 yards before you know it. You're like, wow, okay, he can go. Throw some really nice balls. He can put it all over the field. He's got plenty of arm strength. So, no, he fits that system. He fits what Coach Kiffin likes in a quarterback. He's got some moxie. He's not afraid to throw the ball into tight windows and air it out when he needs to. So, again, another quality challenge. Just like every game, I'm going to step up here and it's going to be 12 games of that.
Obviously, their offense has had some turnover in player personnel, but having Jaquez and Keegan having gone up against them, against Ole Miss in practice and Lane Kiffin, does it help at all getting some insight from them?
I think a team is what they are on tape, and so maybe for them individually, it may help. I think obviously we're just glad to have them a part of this defense, and so they've done a nice job with that. They've obviously helped stress the urgency of what kind of pace we're about to face, but overall the tape is the tape.
Right, we talked so much in the preseason about how important having JJ and Jordan together was for the pass rush. We've only really had them for one game, so how do you kind of feel about that pass rush in the absence of both those guys out there?
Yeah, I think it's a work in progress, and it's going to have to come from different angles. I think some teams, the more you look at it, if you really look, is the ball a lot of times has come out pretty quick. So even when a guy has a good rush, it may not feel like that. But no, that's obviously a point that we could continue to build on. And you do feel it when he's not out there like the last game, really the Youngstown State game as well. So, but that's part of it, and I think guys are getting better, understanding the scheme and how it's not pass rush just as an individual skill. It takes a group. There's a pattern. There's a purpose for how we rush certain guys, how we move a quarterback in the pocket, how we do different things. And so some of the younger guys are starting to get an understanding of what we're trying to get done there. But yeah, that's a work in progress.
Mark said there was some communication issues Saturday with the defense. Since that game, how have you seen your group react, and how big is that going to be when you're facing a tempo team like Ole Miss?
Well, we'll see on Saturday. I mean, the communication errors that happened on Saturday were, some things that hadn't happened all week in practice, and you get into a game and you get into a pressure situation, and sometimes those things get missed, and that separates the good from the great. the average, you know, from being what we want to be. And it's not just doing it on the practice field, but it's doing it in those tense moments. It's doing it in those moments when, hey, the ground's a little bit shaky right now. Hey, can we firm up the ground? And that's what we need our guys to continue to develop and get better at. And we'll find out on Saturday.
Brad, from that kind of the chess match with an offensive coordinator on the other side, what's it tell you when they could go from, you know, throwing the ball all over the place and then move into another season and how well they're running the ball?
I think it's a testament to coaching. I think they've done a great job of adapting to their personnel and where they're going to be ultimately successful. I think it's you know, similar to what Coach Stoops has done here, you know, through his tenure and adapting to the personnel he has and what it takes to win. And at the end of the day, when it's not about stats, when it's about wins, that's what happens. Like you find what your team does best and you try to highlight that. And so that's a testament to good coaching on that front.
What have you seen out of Keaton Wade these last couple of weeks?
I'm sorry?
What have you seen out of Keaton Wade these last couple of weeks? JJ being out.
Yeah, I think he's definitely shown improvement. I think it helps him, you know, from a confidence standpoint to bank those reps because when he's at his best when he believes sort of what he's doing is right, you know, and he's such a great young man in that regard. Like it reminds me of sort of a young Josh Paschal in that he always wants to do the right thing. And at some point, you know, once Josh was settled into the system, I had to tell Josh at sometimes, hey, listen, it's okay to cut loose and go be a football player. You don't always just have to do the paper X and O's. You're exactly right here. But if the ball's inside, like tear off the guy and go make a play. And you know, it takes time. Like when you're a young player, you want to do right. You don't want to let those other guys around you. And he's so conscientious about trying to do everything right. But the more confidence he gains in himself, the more he'll just be able to cut loose. And I've seen flashes of it, and you know, looking forward to seeing more going forward.